Hello, this is Bret. Welcome to my channel. Today is April 12th, 2020. And as you know, if you're a subscriber to my channel, you already know that Jörg Glissman and Michael and I finished reading and discussing the book The Great Exodus, or The Time of the End, How Near Are We to It, by James Aiken Wiley. And I was doing some research online, and I discovered that James Aiken Wiley wrote another book. I can't remember the exact title. It's not in front of me at the moment. I'm upstairs in my house, and I'm just trying to explain that there is a book, a newer book. I believe it was written in 1871, called The Crisis of the Impending Crisis of the Church and of the World. I don't remember the rest of the title. But that book mentioned this book, The Seventh Vial. And I looked up this book online and found a copy, and it just arrived the other day. And I just thought, this is an incredible book because it touches on the seventh vial of Revelation in detail. And the way James Aiken Wiley does it is really quite interesting. And I've started to read this book a little bit, and I thought I would share some of my thoughts on it. See here, it's an exposition of the apocalypse, and in particular of the pouring out of the seventh vial, with special reference to the present revolutions in Europe. And this was written in, published in 1,500, 300, so 840, or no, XL is 40, isn't it? So that would be 1848. So that's quite a bit earlier than the Great Exodus that he wrote this book. But I find it very interesting in this book because he goes, we can see introductory remarks, apocalyptic symbols, structure of the apocalypse, a vision of the mighty angel, the little book, the oath of the angel, measuring of the temple, the two witnesses, avenging power of the witnesses, war with the witnesses, death of the witnesses, resurrection of the witnesses, the 10-horned and 7-headed beast of the sea, the 2-horned beast of the earth, the commencement and termination of the 1260 days, the harpers on Mount Zion, the 7th trumpet, the first 5 vials, the 6th vial, and the 3 frogs, the 7th vial. Voices, thunders, and lightnings, great earthquake, etc., etc. So basically, it's kind of very similar to the Great Exodus, but actually it's nice because it goes into some details that the Great Exodus didn't, in terms of laying out prophetic language to some degree. And I find it very interesting. So I thought I'd share that with everybody. This book, The Seventh Vial, is a very interesting read. And of course, the newer book that he wrote in 1871, The Impending Crisis of the Church and of the World. But I thought it would be fun to try and do a little something out of this book because it certainly fits in the days that we live today, because we know that the seventh vial is the last vial. And let's read a little bit. What does it have to say at the very beginning of the book here? This seventh vial being an the seventh vial being an exposition of the apocalypse, in particular of the pouring out of the seventh vial, with special reference to the present revolutions in Europe in 1848. And here we are today in 2020. So this was, wow, 172 years ago. This book is 172 years old. Okay. In magnificence and terror, the judgment of the seventh vial stands alone. It possesses a marked preeminence over every other judgment in the volume of prophecy. Its vengeance will be on a scale that shall surpass all that went before it, since the world was destroyed by water, and all that shall come after it, till the world shall again be destroyed by fire. It ranks as one of the three mighty dispensations, standing midway, as it were, between the waters that overwhelmed the antediluvian world and the fires that shall consume the post-diluvian world. And the diluvian world is in reference to the deluge. That means when the world was destroyed by flood. Viewed in all its comprehensiveness as the closing act of the great human drama, which began so early as the days of Daniel, and ever since has been advancing step by step to its consummation, it will form the most finished demonstration of God's power and justice, of which earth has been the scene, or guilty man the object. The glory of this event will penetrate far into the past and dart its rays forward into the future. In the light of the seventh vial, the scheme of prophecy will stand revealed. The admirable wisdom and beautiful order of past dispensations will clearly be seen. A new light will be shed upon the character of God, and the great principles of truth and righteousness will be settled on a stable foundation for all time to come. It is the finishing of the mystery of God, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. How great shall that event be! The great empires which the doom of heaven overwhelmed righteously of old, Babylon, Egypt, Jerusalem, were but types of that city on whom this vial is to be poured out. And in her consummated ruin shall all these types find their complete fulfillment. Who can conceive the terrors of a judgment, comprehending in itself the combined vengeance and accumulated horrors under which the great empires we have named were overthrown and utterly broken? And is it not meet that this judgment should be one of unexampled terror? Let us only think of the consolidated strength of that kingdom which this judgment is to break in pieces, and of the enormous guilt it is to avenge. By this stroke, an enemy greater than Babylon, greater than Edom, even greater than imperial Rome, is to be brought down, an enemy whose rage and craft, whose malignity and strength have never been surpassed. never equaled, an enemy which has committed more crimes and violated more oaths, which has shed more blood and crushed more victims, which has brought more woes upon the earth, seduced and destroyed more souls, offered a more determined opposition to the cause of God, and defiled God himself with more effrontery, and that for a longer time than any other enemy that ever arose. It is this enemy whom the seventh vial is to sweep away, the prayers and hopes of the church have looked forward to this event during past ages. And when it shall have been accomplished, her songs and thanksgivings will look back upon it throughout all succeeding eras. Let me get that last portion of the sentence again. And when it shall have been accomplished, her songs and thanksgiving will look back upon it throughout all succeeding eras. That was a majestic hymn sung of old on the shore of the Red Sea. A nobler song is yet to burst upon the world, when a greater enemy... Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I got interrupted there. All right, so the prayers... All right, let me start that again. So, let's stop.